Welcome to the D-VELO-P Cycling Training Podcast, where we untangle the complexities of peak performance in cycling. My name is Fredrik Eriksson, and together with my partner in crime, Erik Åkesson, we are the dorky coaching duo who will be your hosts. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the D-VELO-P Cycling Training Podcast. My name is Fredrik.
And I'm Erik. And as you know, as a cyclist, you know that physical training builds your engine, but the mental taper ensures you have the emotional and cognitive clarity required to run that engine on all cylinders come race day. So that is what we're going to talk about today, the rider's guide to the mental tapering.
Yeah, and I think this is something that is growing in importance when life on this planet gets more and more complicated. We're multitasking all over the place. There's multiple different types of social media and different things that kind of nags away at our mental capacity, so to speak. And there's a term called computational fatigue. That actually, because of all this, we're not equipped to perform well or make decisions properly anymore. And actually, we were talking about this before, and then we actually looked up a study called "Computational Mechanisms Underlying the Dynamics of Physical and Cognitive Fatigue." So if you're tired in the head, you're not going to be performing on the bike.
Exactly. So this mental tapering, it's all about protecting your mind and your nervous system from the wear and tear that comes with both physical and psychological training. And you apply this like you apply a taper for your physical training, with some modifications, of course.
And in both cases, both for the physical and mental tapering, there are some challenges connected to this, because when you have this new levels of energy that comes with the taper, and if we stick to the mental part of it, it's kind of important that we challenge that new capacity or energy that we have available towards positive things that will actually make us perform better, and avoid things like obsessing or overanalyzing or some kind of mental looping about things like race tactics beforehand or things like that. So that is a bit what we're gonna dig into today.
Yeah, and we can explain what a taper is for the listeners who are not familiar with that. A taper is when you train, you add more and more training, and then for a goal you take some of that training off, both duration and intensity, just so you can get a boost from that rest time you get from the taper. And that the same thing applies to the mental side, that you take some mental fatiguing stuff away, like scrolling social media, studying start lists, or analyzing other people's power files or something like that, just to get rid of that extra information and fatigue that your brain is actually getting from that.
Yeah, and these is both the physical and mental are, of course, highly individual. What's the right mix for you? Well, when we talk about the physical part, the right mix of volume and intensity or types of training, and the same applies, of course, for the mental part. So the examples you took there, which are for many people a mental load and things that you might want to avoid. There are, of course, other things like some people might be gaming excessively or watching very intense TV series, or having emotionally heavy or suspenseful conversations with people. It could be things like, financial handling financial difficulties or things like that. which might be something you could postpone at least, or for a lot of our athletes that are out on the international scene, communicating extensively in like a second or foreign language is something that takes a lot of mental energy. And if you can kind of trim that down as much as you can before important races, that will free up mental energy that is going to go into the performance.
Yeah, an example from the real world, as we see now with the Tour de France on the TV, we see that the riders like Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard, they want to avoid getting the yellow jersey for as long as possible, just to not be able to get the media access that are required when you have the yellow jersey on, or a polka dot jersey, or sprinter jersey.
Yeah, there are all kinds of different types of load, like we said. And
yeah, but there are green loads as well, which we can discuss as well, that enhances your mental performance. And that can be reading books that are, well, non-cycling related, or listening to podcasts that don't like this analyze the training or talk about cycling, but maybe just the conversational podcasts. Or you can do some things for your nervous system to regulate that, like meditate, mindfulness, foam rolling, or stuff like that. That is good for the nervous system as well.
And just like with the red things that probably is going to be have a negative impact, what is going to have a positive impact is of course highly individual as well. And I know for myself, for an example, one of my periods in my career where I performed the best was actually the same when I was doing my master thesis. And I put a lot of work into that. But I mean, that was a bit stressful, but it was also something that took my mind off racing and training and those things that well, it's easy to ruminate about when you're a racing cyclist.
And that was also way before social media was a thing.
Not way. I actually had a Facebook already. This was in 2008 for reference. So
yeah, way
but,
before.
Yeah, but of course you're right. The mental load from those kind of things weren't as prevalent back then. So for today, doing an intense bout of work with a master's thesis might not be a great idea. It depends on who you are, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And finding what are your kind of green and red zone activities, which are the ones you should kind of avoid during a mental taper, and which one you should try to direct your mental energy towards during this period is, of course, very individual.
And there are something called the execution matrix. That is variables that are inside that you can control, or variables outside of your control. And I actually saw a pretty good quote from one of our favorite authors, James Clear, regarding this. And that quote is, compete externally and you compare, compete internally and you improve. Which I thought was pretty fitting in this context.
Absolutely, and that's a classic example of how comparison is the thief of joy, so to speak. So once again, this is a great exercise, and to look at which are the kind of things that you should direct your attention towards, which are the things that are inside of your control, and try to avoid overthinking or overfocus on the things that are not in your control. You could, of course, have some kind of predetermined coping mechanisms for things that might happen that are out of your control, but over fixating on these things is usually not a great recipe.
And I actually have an example from yesterday when I rode the Swedish Championships in cross country short track. Well, I had a pre-plan from the start, but I actually had to use this coping protocol of mine once during the race, and we were 3 or 4 guys on each other's wheels, and the guy in front of me overlapped his wheel on the guy in front of him and was able to take his foot out, but that completely stopped him. But I had a meter or two just as a safe zone between us, so I can just go past him without getting stuck in that. It wasn't a crash, but it was just something that took his energy and time from it. So I could just pass him and go straight to the other guy's wheel. And that was something that was out of my control, like the tactics from my rivals or other mechanical failures. But there was a coping protocol that I could apply mentally beforehand if things like this could happen.
Yeah, and other classic examples are, of course, weather changes that might not be something you enjoy when it starts raining, or if it's extremely hot, or if, for example, you have you're riding for a team and the logistics person in the team makes a really bad travel arrangement for you to a big race or something like that. It's easy to get caught up and focus on things like that, but it's, of course, generally not a great idea.
No, and here we see that some riders panic. They turn this into something bigger than it is if your flight is delayed or something like that. While more experienced, the more laid back riders, they cope with it, and there's always another flight, or there's always another thing that is worse than this thing. So it's fine. So that's a pretty good example to give there.
And moving on to another kind of phenomenon during a taper, which is both physical and mental, is the kind of the phantom form illusion, which because when you taper, you train, you have a lower training load, and your body is used to a certain training load, and when that decreases, it is positive for the body, but it is also a change that the body has to adapt to, and you might not recognize your body, so to speak, during something like this, because your central nervous system goes through some kind of recalibration. There's things in the legs that will make them feel weird or dead or heavy, or, I mean, a classic example is that the legs feel swollen during a taper like this because, well, the muscles get more carbohydrates stored in them, and that carbohydrate is also there's water retention connected to that, which will make your legs feel a bit more kind of swollen and stiff. But those are actually positive changes. So the trick here is not to panic when these things happen.
Yeah, more experienced riders, they don't panic, but more insecure or novice athletes, they might panic. And on the recovery ride the day before, they turn that into a mini interval session just to test the leg, so to speak, or something like that, or even calling the coach with doing, well, should I do a bike fit change or set up a choice or other thing that that might be stupid to do the day before a race, but when you are stressed and panicked about this, that can feel very relevant to do.
Absolutely, and another classic example is calling not just one person, but 10 different people to get their opinions on things like you mentioned, like or making bike fit changes, or should I change my warm up? I feel a bit off. Maybe another kind of warm up will make the legs feel better, and then you get input from 10 different people, and which of course is going to be 10 different kind of opinions, which is only gonna mess up your thoughts even more.
Exactly. And we have some, if we go to the next part, we have some campaign operations or examples from the real world. Well, this past month, there has been a very big block of World Cup mountain bike racing with 4 World Cup weekends in 5 weeks. And with that big block of races, you can't really treat each race or each event like a peak for itself. You must think of it like a campaign mode. Like, well, I'm here for 5 weeks and I need to perform maybe both short track and cross country Olympics, and that's 8 races in 5 weeks. And I can't just focus on one as a one individual race. I need to focus it as one block of racing. There we have we call it the micro loop, where we can apply it when there is back-to-back weekends of racing. And that's a closed loop energy reclamation. And if you want to, you can describe that one, Fredrik.
Yeah, usually that is kind of getting on Monday, if the race was on Sunday, the last race, so that weekend, on Monday, getting some kind of closure from the past racing weekend. We talked about the after action reflection. We've had a podcast on that, doing something like that, or analyze data in another way with your coach or with your team manager or by yourself. Doing some kind of, processing your emotions and experiences in some way from the race. Doing that on Monday, maybe making a slot of time that kind of says, okay, for this hour I get to analyze and ruminate over this, and when that is done, you kind of move on, and then you have like a few days. Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday, which is like the green cocoon, where you kind of focus on bringing back a lot of mental energy from the kind of activities that bring you energy and is positive for the coming performance. And then you're back to racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's when you kind of funnel in and focus and only really try to minimize everything that shouldn't be there. And when it comes to these green and red things, especially when it comes to the red things, really minimizing, have a strict kind of a diet of the things that are draining you, and trying to get more of the positive things. And of course, when you're in a stage race instead, which we're in the middle of the Tour de France at the moment when we're recording this, you can't have this micro loop, which is a week long. You have to do this kind of loop from the end of one stage to the start of the stage the day after, which is more like a nano loop instead.
Yeah, the nano loop, it's about 24 hours, give or take. It's a bit less from the finish of the stage on one day to the start of the stage on the next day. But here we have 4 parts. The race is the first one, and that's of course what matters the most, the total focus. And during the race, there can be different. Of course, different things happen. In Tour de France, there are 180 guys that that goes with you, and shit happens. And if you lose position or drop a chain, you can think, instead of oh shit, this is bad, you can think, okay, what do I have to do in the next 60 seconds to get a better position, or to get my chain on again, and to get back to the peloton. So instead of panicking or getting angry or irritated, we can say, okay, what's my exact job in the next 60 seconds? And then do that one instead. And then after the race, when you finished, you need to both cool down physically and emotionally as well. If there's been a good or a bad stage, of course. And there's actually been a few things in social media now about the poor hotel rooms for the riders in the Tour de France, and which is well, it's the biggest race in the world, and they can't afford or plan for hotels that have AC or good food, or don't have spiders in the rooms. But if you expect poor hotel rooms or delayed transfers or not optimal food, when your rivals complain about that, you can win psychologically by having this coping protocol that you made before.
And the time right after the stage in a stage race, well, if we take the tour, which as an example, which of course is the absolutely highest level of the sport, then of course there might be, just like we talked about for the micro loop, there's some kind of after action reflection or discussions with the team in the bus. And then after that, there might be further discussions during the dinner, or if you have a massage before dinner or after dinner. But it is kind of like you have that from the finish to dinner or something like that, which is the time you do your reflection or decompression or debriefing after the stage, and then it's over, and we move on and try to do the kind of the cocoon stage after that, from dinner to sleep, and sleep is not always super easy to achieve during a high profile race like that, because of course there's media, you're fatigued from the stage, your body might be revving up still, so it's difficult to sleep. It might be like you were talking about, really hot because of a poor hotel room or something like that, but really trying to prioritize, I mean, introspection and introversion, and finding what you can do to really wind down and be that in that green zone cocoon to get some sleep.
Of course, before you sleep, you also need to get ready for the next stage, the next race, and you do that by reviewing the road book. If we take the Tour de France athletes for an example, but you don't have to dive into the whole 180 or 200 kilometer stage and where every turn or roundabout is. You look at it, you take notice of the most crucial parts, and you look through it once or maybe twice, but then you put that aside and close the book and go read something more fun or more relaxing, just to clear the mental blackboard, so to speak.
Yeah, and then of course, hopefully you have a good night's sleep, and the morning after, the cocoon kind of continues a little bit with hopefully a good breakfast, and but then usually it's off to the stage, which in the tour or in many different type of stage races could be a transfer in some way. And of course, depending on what kind of team you're riding for, or what, if you're a road cyclist or if it's some other kind of race that is a stage race, you might have some kind of a last team preparation or things like that, and then you're back at the start for the next stage.
Yeah,
But
and we actually have some actionable tools available on our webpage, D-VELO-P, that you can download and look through, but we can discuss some of them briefly here as well. And the first tool is a logistic de-risking protocol, and that is, well, if you're not a professional athlete doing the Tour de France, maybe you need to make all the travel arrangements and book flights and accommodations yourself, and just do that a long time before the flight or the trip is. Just you don't have to do it the last week or the last few days before, just to have that mental clarity that, okay, that is fixed now. I can just focus on getting ready physically and mentally.
yeah, and things. This includes things like equipment checklist or having some kind of predetermined coping skill. Yeah, coping skills, or at least you know what you should do when something goes wrong, or something that you didn't find desirable happens in some way. So being prepared like that is really a super skill. And I think you mentioned our habits hero James Clear before in this podcast, and he also has also said that we don't rise to level of our goals or expectations or desires. We kind of fall to the level of our systems and preparations, and this is a classic example of that. Being prepared is the first step to getting some kind of mental taper, because then you don't have to take care of things that show up in the last few weeks.
Exactly. And the second tool, the tool B tool, as we call it, is the pre-taper red and green budget planner. And here's actually a list of the top 3 personal red load triggers to avoid, which you yourself put into here. And that can, for example, be, okay, I don't pay my taxes the day before a big race, because that's an economical, very big mental load. Or I don't make a big grocery shopping or something like that the day before. That's a few days before or a week before, so you have all that done. And then, of course, the scheduled green load anchors. What specific things will I lock in during or before the race?
Yeah, and I think when it comes to these things, it's a pretty good idea to do some kind of 80-20 analysis to like really figure out which actually are your top 3 triggers or your top 2 activities that provide the green or the red. So you really pick the raisins from the cake, so to speak. And that goes also to the kind of the execution blueprint, which is like 48 hours before the start or something like that. Just kind of see which are my top priorities to actually do, which could be, okay, the most important thing for me to perform is getting the cooling strategy correct, and having a nice chat with about the race tactics with my sports director or whatever. Those are the 2 most important things for me personally, and finding, really making sure that at least those execution things which are inside of your control will be handled in a good way.
Yeah. I think that's it for this guide to mental tapering. It's been a pretty brief podcast, but we have this document, and this tools available on our webpage for you to download for free if you're interested. And it is a great tool for athletes to begin with if you're not already doing things like this.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, let's not bring in a more mental load to our listeners by dragging this on anymore. I think we covered a lot of important aspects, and like we said in the beginning, I think this is increasing in importance to have a good performance.
Exactly. And with that, I will say goodbye.
Thank you for listening.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of the D-VELO-P Cycling Training Podcast. For more training tips and deeper dives into performance, you can follow us on Substack and check out our blog on our webpage as well. You can of course follow us on our social medias, Instagram and LinkedIn, and of course Facebook. And if you got any questions or ideas for future topics of the pod, leave a comment below this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening, keep pushing forward, and we'll see you next time.